Happy morning, everyone. I'm Sandhya on behalf of MTT. I would like to start the intro session with a quote. The true measure of success will be the number of people touched and transformed by our success. Now, I would also like to introduce mytrustedtutor.com. MTT is a marketplace for private tutors, school teachers, corporate trainers, academicians, educators, and all kinds of educational professionals. Our mission is to make quality education easily and affordably available to all. I take great pleasure to welcome the speaker of the day, Sanjay Gupta, on the topic employability skills for graduates and working executives. Our speaker Sanjay Gupta is a postgraduate in management from IMT Ghaziabad with 35 years long experience in industry and academics. He has worked with top companies such as Ranbaxy Laboratory Limited, Jubilant Organisys Limited. He has designed marketing strategy and media plans for SIMT's admission program 2013 for MBA, BBA and BCA courses. He was nominated as Chief Proctor, Chief Coordinator Entrepreneurship Development Cell, and Coordinator Job Fair 2011 to 12. He has organized more than 100 social, educational, and cultural events in Kumon region. Now I hand over the session to Sanjay sir. Sir,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Namaste to all. I'm happy to be on the board today to speak of my experiences with you. To start with, let me start with the thing is, I, in fact, after completing my education in 1985 from IMT Ghaziabad, I worked for approximately 6 years in the corporate sector. And then I migrated to Uttarakhand. And I found that time it wasn't Uttarakhand, it was UP itself, and it became Uttarakhand in 2000. I found that definitely this belt lacks communication skills. Being the backwardness of this area, the government introduced the SIDCO scheme, State Industrial Development Corporation, with certain packages in the industry. The industry boomed like anything. There were more than 500-600 factories out here in Rudrapur, which is the hub of SIDCO. Then we had Sitarganj. We have now Sitarganj. Then Bahadrabad in Haridwar. All these industries required people to work for them. But the basic problem was how to find proper incumbents. Communication became a very big problem because first thing, this is a Kumaon Garhwal area where people speak Kumaoni and Garhwali, the locals. And these people were definitely very weak in communication. I wouldn't say that English, communication means English only. Communication means expressing yourself properly in your language, that is Hindi or English, not Kumaoni, Garhwali or Punjabi. Now, these are not official languages. So whenever the industry comes up, they either take the best of English or Hindi speaking students. Now I found while I was teaching since the last 10 years, when I have been teaching in various institutions like Shahid Bhagat Singh Degree College, Rudrapur, like TMU, Muradabad, Shri Ram Institute of Management Technology, Kashipur, and even the Renaissance College of Hotel Management, and various industries where I took classes. I found that the industries where I go as a consultant, as a speaker, they also come up with the same problem, that they don't find good people. Good people, what do you mean by good people? The people who are good in communication. Now, good in communication means what the company wants, they expect that from incumbents. Those incumbents are not able to give what is expected of them. So what I started doing is I started filling the gaps, as working as a bridge between these things, and started my research on most of these things. Today, I will try to draw your attention of most of the people here in the group today. I'll try to draw your attention towards those important factors which are responsible for this gap and how to overcome this gap and improve your communication skills for employability. I will focus only on employability because ultimately we are learning, we are yearning, we are troubling ourselves for one great thing, which is roti. This is what we are working for ultimately. Whatever our aim is to fill our tummies. So friends, please let us focus. Let us share the first screen. Yes, this is the organization chart. Friends, let us concentrate on this chart where on the top of the companies you have the board of the directors managed by the managing director, and the people who report to them, to these people, especially to the managing director or the CEO, are the departmental heads of production, finance, marketing, quality, personnel and administration, which is known as HR nowadays. And in the line, they have production manager, GM marketing, manager P&A, executive supervisor, executive marketing executive, then time office in charge, and so many people in the line as per the company systems. So remember one thing, even if you are from a college, from an institute, you have a board, you have a managing director, MDs. Nowadays they are MDs in the schools, colleges also. You have a principal, you have a manager, you have this, there are so many departments out there running independently. Then you have got teachers, departmental heads, home science head, or you have the physics lab head, you have the PT physical training head. So all these departments are already there in the institution, and you have to see that the communication ladder is always in the same matter. So this communication ladder that I have drawn for you is to understand that the command flows downwards. The command flows downwards, and all responsible for the work, that they have to go upwards. They have to follow the command and respond. So response always flows upwards, right? So let's have the next screen. This is a layout of a commercial letter, which is common. So let us come to the first problem, which is of the communication is people mostly are not able to write correctly. They are not able to express in written English. This is very important. See, you have to send a resume for all your appointments. Wherever you get a job offer, you send your resume. You call it biodata. Remember, there are three things: resume, biodata, and CV. So these all three have a different meaning. We'll have another chapter for all those sometime later on, because today we have to focus on the employability part. Right. So let us understand that when you send a resume, you have to attach a covering letter to it. Covering letter, the letter which covers the resume. Can I have the next screen, please? Next slide. This is the layout of a job application covering letter. No, the previous one. The previous one, please. Correct. This is the job application covering letter. Remember, friends, that whenever you deposit a check in the bank, you just go and drop you don't just go and drop a check in the box. You have to attach a slip to it with your account number on it, the date, your signatures, the amount, the check number, and all those things. So when you do this in a bank, why not with your resume? You have to attach a slip to it, and that slip is very well known as covering letter. That is the application. Actually, that is the application. The attachment is something else. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is that now we are creating an application on paper, which will later on, within a few seconds, I'll go to the email part. So first of all, let us come to the format on paper. First, you have to write your name, address, and contact number, so the person comes to know from whom he has received this application. You can't say that I have given everything on my resume. Resume is secondary. First, you have to give an application to draw attention. So first you have to give your name and address, then the name of the addressee, Mr., Miss, Mrs. or Messrs, and then the designation who has asked for the application. So you have to ask for the you have to write his designation, his address, and then salutation, dear sir, dear madam, or Messrs, dear sir. Subject comes later on. Today, see, one thing is very clear. You people do argue with me, sir. Should the subject come before the salutation or should the subject come after the salutation? See, as per the British system, which is designed by the British themselves, first you have to address somebody. Don't you call somebody on the way? Oi, are you able to listen to me? Oi, hello, hello, hello. So that means first you have to say hello so that you draw attention of that person, and then you have to write the subject. If you write the subject before you call him up, it's useless, I think. So what I agree with the British is that the subject has to come later after the salutation, dear sir. So application for the post of executive trainee, for hotel trainee, for management trainee, or manager, you have to write the same post which has been advertised for. Starting with the first paragraph, this is with the reference, dear sir, you have already written, this is with reference to your advertisement in the Times of India, the Hindustan Times, dated such and such for the above post. Now I'm enclosing my resume in response to the same. I am an MBA, BBA, BTech, BEd from this institute. This is very important. You have to write the name of the institute because the institute's name does carry weight. I successfully completed the course in this year with this as specialization: marketing, HR, education, engineering, whatever. I have so many years of experience. So this way you have almost abridged your resume into 4 lines. The person who will be interested in you will come to know, and he will understand that your resume is important or unimportant for him. So you have to write maximum in the minimum number of words. Last paragraph would be, kindly give me an opportunity to discuss my details personally, right? You have to discuss, basically it's an interview. You are asking for an interview. Remember, you don't have to write, I beg to state, I request, like, important, never say, I have come to understand you have a place, you have a vacation, you have a suitable vacancy in your organization. No, shouldn't write. You have to be straight because they require and you are required. If you are not required, they won't ask for you. So be very straight, very confident in this letter, right? I hope everybody is understanding. Do not write, I will not leave any stone unturned for, these are very common jargons people use because they get it already printed on the phone, right? Next screen, please. Then, sorry, this is ultimately under that you have to sign yours faithfully, yours truly, signatures. Remember, signatures have always to be above your name. Can you please raise the screen slightly? Can you please raise it slightly? So then we can see the under slightly. No, before that. Before that. Yeah. Signatures, name, and designation. If you are already working, you can write your designation, otherwise you can ignore the interview arena. That is how you can enter the heads in the heart of the interviewer. You have to prepare a good resume, and before that you have to be prepared for everything which you should write in it. So before he enters the interview chamber, his image is already created in the minds of the interviewer. Through your resume, the person already creates an image in your heads. Similarly, when you are interviewed, your resume creates your image in the minds of the people who are interviewing you. So your mirror should be such that you do not hide any facts about yourself. Remember, they are very smart. They will know while they talk to you. So do not hide any facts. Do not exaggerate facts. Never try to exaggerate with what you are not. Try to give maximum details about yourself. If the resume has to be mailed, it's not a problem if you have 2 pages, 3 pages, or 4 pages. However, when you send a hard copy, normally it should not exceed more than 2 pages. It should not exceed 2 pages, because the person also, he has another 50 resumes in front of him. He may not have that much time. So try to be very precise in your 2-page resume. Put a proper photograph in your formals. Proper photograph, not your t-shirts. Girls, please pay attention. No salwar suit. Either it should be a shirt, official. It has to be formal. It has to be formal. So it has to be a sari or a suit. No t-shirts, please. No round neck t-shirts. No V-shaped shirts. These are not acceptable. You don't look good at all. Try to be formal as everything, because your resume is also a formality. So you have to be formal. A good shirt, plain shirt, a tie. And in case you are more interested in a salwar suit, you know how to wear it. Give a proper attire. Right. Next screen, please. See, when somebody wants you to join, they are expecting work from you. They say there is no honeymoon period. The HR has a responsibility of recruiting you, employing you, and it becomes his responsibility to have correct people, right person for the right job, because otherwise he will lose his job. Do you know one thing? Employing one person is a hell of a job, from starting from the advertising, scrutiny of his resume, of their resume, all of them together, then selecting the right ones, taking an interview, calling the bosses. They have to leave their chairs and come for the interview, to take your interview. And if the wrong candidate is selected, the person is responsible for calling you. Remember? So first is, a very difficult task is, if you are wrongly selected, it is very difficult to retrench you. And then refilling that position. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the first page. I have simply mentioned in a chronological order the information that is required. You can change the order to your suitability, to your liking. You may be a computer expert. You can use frills, designs, and whatever you want. So first of all, it's become a trend that we write our objective. What is the objective? And remember, because objective, most of the interviewer can objective and the summary of what you have already mentioned in your application letter, right? Whatever you can give. I belong to this place. I'm a permanent resident of this place. I'm an expert in this. I'm a go-getter. I can do this. I can do that. So you can have a small summary. I have done this in the year 2015. I did this in 2011. So you can write that in a summary, which can be not more than a paragraph, right? That can be a summary if you want on the first side. Then your name, address, phone number, email, date of birth have to be given in this chronological order. First of all, objective, what is your aim in life? Name, father's name. Father's name is normally required to identify yourself, because sometimes you may have 3-4 names. Like my name is very common, Sanjay. I'm fed up of this name, you know. Such a common name. Then father's name is very important that way. Permanent address. Remember, friends, you are if you have a permanent address and you don't want your letters to reach that village, then you give a postal address of the place where you are living at your current address, right? Then we come to the professional qualification. Professional qualification should always come on the top before the academic qualification. Don't start with your 10th and 12th. Start with the last education, last qualification you had, and that too a relevant one. Relevant. Sometimes, you know, I have seen people doing B.Ed as well as B.Tech. B.Ed as well as B.Tech, or B.Ed as well as Polytechnic. Now, the employer is confused. You want to be a teacher or you want to be a technical head of my company? So please remove that qualification which is irrelevant. Otherwise, it will confuse him. Your aims are diversified, right? So you have to write your course, what you did, BTech, affiliation of the university, year of passing, subject specializations, and marks. If not marks, you can give your division. Similarly, academic qualifications. You can have start with your 12th. I would say with your graduation. If you have done your BCom, you'd write BCom first. And in the professional one, you can write your MBA. Right? I hope you understand this, what I'm saying. So this academic qualification will be starting from the last qualification, whether it was 12th or it was BSc, BCom, B.Ed, whatever you want to say, right? Then you have to give that in the name of the class, the board you have done it from, year of passing, subjects, marks, division. These are very important. And remember, friends, year of passing is very important. When a person judges you through your resume, they judge you through the years, the continuity in your education. Suppose you did your 12th in 2013, then 2016 must be your graduation, or 2017 must be your professional qualification, like hotel management or BTech 4-year course. So remember, they will judge you through your year of passing. If there's a gap, they will immediately ask you, why was there a gap and what did you do during that gap? Because learning takes 2 years and unlearning takes another 1 year only. If you have not done anything, you are a loser again. Next, come to the work experience. Can you please raise this PPT? The work experience, slightly. No, the first page itself. The last line of the first page. The first page, yeah. Yeah, you have the work experience. You have to write the name of the company, the last company you have worked with, your duration and your designation, right? And the type of work you were doing, so that the person understands that you don't have to be taught first, and they will immediately take you on the basis of the company names and your duration. Next, right, the second page. The second page is basically a complementary page because all your information has already been given in the first one. The second page is it's a complement to the first page. Information like extracurricular activities, which are very important, that you did in your schools and your college, maybe your achievements or your hobbies, and additional information which are required for record. So number one, you have to write your skills, your knowledge of computers, mechanical, electrical, and other skills. Then your any awards or achievements if you have. You must have attended many other courses. You must be able to. You must have learned somewhere the gliding, parasailing, something. You write that. If you have no horse riding, swimming, you write that. Hobbies. Okay, that's very good. Then marital status is very important because that allows the employer to understand your status, whether you are movable, transferable, or you have to be fixed in a single spot. You're a married person, whether your spouse is also working in a school. So would you like to relocate yourself? So these are very important things. Marital status is very important, single or married. If you have kids, write 2 kids, 1 kids, whichever number of kids you have. Then it will be very good if you have a passport and UID number is for your Aadhaar card. You give that number, it authenticates your presence in this world, right? As per our government. Then you can, if you wish, you write your salary expected, or you can simply say negotiable. I am ready to negotiate. Any other information which you want to give, which may be unique to you, Maybe I may not be knowing, the other person may not be seeking, but you think it is important. Sometimes people write some disability they have. This is also information. Then there's a declaration, the above information, which is a line which is not very important, you write. Now, there's a very good thing which is known as references. You know, how are references important? These authenticate you. Nowadays, people prefer to have those people who are very well known. They have a background so that they can be depended upon. So you have to carry cash 3 lakh, 4 lakh, 5 lakh to the bank. So it is good that somebody should know you. So if you have valid references from the industry, from politics, or from here on there, you can give their names, and you can even give their phone numbers if you wish, and people may call them up. You can call those references of yours and tell them that you may get a call from a company, and please vouch for me. Then you have signatures. Thank you. Next. Now I hope you understood how to apply. This is a very simple but a tedious job. You know how to apply. Once you have applied, you are clear. And now the ball is in the other person's court. Wait for your turn, wait for their call. And the moment you get a call, you be prepared. Now, let us come for a group discussion. Now, you'll be saying that, am I teaching you employability or am I teaching you how to get a job? See, both the things are synonymous. To get a job, you have to be communicative. And your communication has to be judged only through the relevant information. I'm just muting my mic for a minute. Let us come to the next part of this. That is group discussion. Let me check once again. Am I audible to everyone, please?
Yes, sir. You're audible, sir.
Thank you so much. Clearly, very clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And I think I'll like to ask the host, are we going on the right line?
Yes, sir. I'm Sandhya, sir. You're going on the right line.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the appreciation. Okay, now let's come to the next part of our employability senses, that is group discussion. Now, friends, if you get more than 50 or 60 candidates for interview at a location, how do you expect those people to interview you and come to the right judgment? Suppose you have got 4 or 5 sectors where your interview is taken by different people, then there is no comparison once again. So the best thing that goes on that way is the GD. What is group discussion? It's not a modern method because 35 years ago, I faced approximately 8 or 10 GDs. That time also it was there. Later on it was there. So it is not a new system of group discussion which has arisen suddenly from somewhere. It has been there since ages, since the recruitment process is there. What is a GD? It is a technique of mass elimination and to judge a candidate appropriateness for the job. See, when you have a large group of students, sometimes freshers from so many institutes flock down. I have seen interviews conducted by Graphic Era or Doon Institutes or institute in Kashipur or in Delhi or somewhere all over India. The students are called in the months of March, April, maybe April, May, June, after they complete their final examinations, and they flock in with their ties and shirts and trousers and belts and files. How do you expect a person to interview more than 500 students in a day or 2 days? So group discussion is the best way to eliminate. So gentlemen, please understand the importance of communication. If you are not communicative, you sit there like a dumb person. Nobody will bother who you are, where you came from, where you will go. You are simply eliminated. So remember, now or never, don't be shy. Be prepared for the GD. How we do it, I'll tell you. Come on, let us start with the first point. Listen, whenever you go for a group discussion, go and watch around you. You will find minimum 8 and maximum 12 members in a group for the GD. This is the most appropriate size of a group discussion, because the person or number of people who are sitting across the table, maybe C shape or a D shape arrangement, they will be able to listen to you. They will be able to understand what you're saying. They will be able to manage you. So minimum 8, maximum 12 people. There may be a smaller group. And if there is a bigger group, I think the organizers don't have the brains for the GD. They just want to have a formality. They have already selected people. So it is a group of 8 to 12 people. Then these people are observed by one or more people, who later on decide on who is the best. What do they observe? Let us see. What do they observe? They will observe the knowledge and self-confidence, the persons, the incumbents, the people sitting across, the communication skills and the presence of mind, body language and posture, listening and reacting. How are you listening to the others? And how are you reacting to the others? This is very important. Positive attitude and your style is watched. They watch you like a hawk. Now, how to participate in a group discussion? Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. Once you enter the GD hall, you have to follow the following do's and don'ts. Number 1, first, look at the group size, which I have already told you, and look at the seating arrangement. Seating arrangement is important because it can be in a C shape or in a D shape or in a straight line, and you have to see your location. Are you sitting in the center? By chance, you're sitting in the center, or you are sitting in the extreme corner? Or if it is a C shape or D shape, are you sitting nearer to the person who's managing the group, the people from the employers? So just imagine the way I am concentrating on where you are sitting. That is also very important. Maybe sheer luck that you get a place right in front, or maybe later. Then balance your volume. Balance your volume. When you speak, when you enter the room, you will understand, you will speak out, and you will see the resonance that that room gives you. So you have to balance your pitch, your voice. You have to either be loud, or you have to be slightly, you have to reduce your pitch, your volume, your tone according to the room size and the group size. Remember to maintain the eye contact. To whomsoever you speak, you talk to them eye to eye, and always turn one eye towards the person who is noticing you from your left or your right, that is the employers, representatives. Look, see what they are liking it or not. You can see them frown. You can see that they may like it, they may not like it. So the best thing is remember friends, you have only 6 to 10 minutes in that GD, and out of those 12 people, you have to speak out. Try to initiate the discussion. One point is, the moment they give you the topic, suppose the topic is women's liberation in today's India, you start. Don't think, just start. Because if you don't start, the other person will start and you won't get the chance. So initiate the discussion immediately. That is your only chance to get through, but not the last chance. Right? If you don't have, let the other person speak, wait for your chance, you will get it. And if you don't get it, you snatch it in between. Grab the chance. If you miss on either, that is you have not taken the initiative or you didn't get a chance, you grab your chance. And sometimes when you throughout the topic, you don't get a chance again, you conclude. You can see your watch. It is 6 minutes, 7 minutes. You say, don't conclude very clearly that I'm concluding. You are nobody to conclude. You just say, as far as my conclusion is concerned, I understand that the topic is going this way and it should conclude it this way. And I can have more suggestions if you like. But gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, you have to speak. If you don't speak in the entire duration, forget about the interview. You won't be called for the interview. That's why, or you should always prove your point. Try to be nearer to the topic Try to speak whatever is correct. Don't, now we'll come to the don'ts. Don't be shy. Don't interrupt, but find a gap. If a person takes a breath before speaking, you just enter, grab your chance, get inside. Somebody says something, don't laugh. Don't make a mockery of himself, because you'll be making a mockery of yourself. So don't think that just by laughing off, you can push him off. Don't be personal or upset if somebody criticizes that you are not a computer expert. I am a computer expert. How do you think you can speak out? Don't be upset. Don't get personalized. Don't shout at him. Don't ask him to shut up. Okay? So this way, and never say, I think, I think, I think. Who bothers what you think? Whatever is correct, please speak that out. And use your statistics, use your past information. Right? Remember the time which I told you, 6 to 10 minutes. The GD never goes on forever. Okay? You understood? What should be done in the GD? Next. Next slide, please. Now we come to the D-Day, facing an interview. This is the final steps in your selection. Now we'll be discussing on what employer wants, how to prepare for the interview, your attitude at the venue, and your attitude inside the cabin. Next slide, please. Right. So what is your perspective when you go for an interview? You have to sell yourself, isn't it? Your resume was your advertisement. You have already advertised. You have already mentioned what you wanted to say. You have already advertised. You have to display confidence when you are there. Interest, show your interest. Don't show your desperation for the job. I want it, give it to me. Anyway, sir, I'll do anything for you. No. They want a person who has good confidence, motivated person, who is committed. So just be yourself, sell yourself, show your confidence, motivation, and commitment. And demonstrate behavior that matches your resume. You have mentioned so much in the resume. Your personality, your behavior should match your resume. The other person will easily make out the difference, the gaps between your resume and what actually you are. You know the body language? The way you will shake your shoulder or your head or your ear or your eyes or your fingers, the person can easily make out what you are. So don't try to be dramatic. Now, good communication skills and balanced personality. What does that mean? Good communication skills is that you have developed through ages from your childhood. Maybe some people have developed it later on, but you have developed it. So skills can be developed. It is not inherent. Then you are a balanced personality. When you match everything, you are a balanced personality. Don't be desperate. Talk very slowly, very easily and comfortably. Now, displaying ambition. I want to become this. I want to become president of India. I want to do. There is nothing wrong in dreaming. Nothing wrong in telling during the interview that I want to be the CEO of this company. Nothing wrong, my dear friends. I can see smile on your face. I can judge it because everybody wants to be something big. I want to be the head of this department. Everybody wants. And during the interview, there's no problem in telling the other person that you want this because that is expected of you. Right? Next, please. Now, what does the employer exactly wants? What is his perspective? To verify the exactness of information of a resume. Sometimes you copy a resume. Have you seen most of the students, yaar zara apna resume diyo yaar, and they just change the name, their father and father's name and your address. Your name, father's name, address. That should not be there. The resume should be you. What you are, it is very important, and the employer will judge you by comparing you with your resume. Right? Then he will observe your body language. Just as I told you in the slide before, they will observe your body language. I have seen interviews where people who rush into the cabin, they drink at least 3 to 5 glasses of water. What is this, man? This is not the way you go for an interview. Okay, you have a sore throat, take a sip, couple of sips, and then be content and talk to them. Not that you are hustling and bustling and taking up drinking 3 glasses of water at a time. No, no, that is not a body language. Be composed, comfortable. Explore your values, attitude, skills, expectation, and capabilities. What does this mean? You have to explore your values. You don't want to take bribe, you tell them, I am very much against taking bribes and giving bribes. You are something against atrocities. You don't like where government acts, you tell them these are your values. Your attitude towards the work is you don't have to shout or suppress the other person who's taking into the interview. He's not your enemy, he's your boss. He's going to be your boss. So your attitude should be such that if he's asking you and he goes contrary to your likings, you don't have to simply argue with him. Say, stay cool, stay composed. Okay, content. Don't try to argue unnecessarily because he's the boss. Then you can discuss your skills, your expectations. They will try to know what your expectations are and what capabilities you have. Be very fair. Be very fair. Gather. Acha. One more thing is there. Before you come to the interview, you know the names of the company. You have your internet. You try to know the company about the company from the web. Try to know more and more about the company. This is going to improve your communication and your confidence while at the venue. They will ask you something about engineering. You have already studied about the company. You can easily tell that you have a branch there, you have a industry there, you have this there, and I've known about you. I know about your CEO. I know about your MD. They will be very happy because you have already stepped into their office almost. They know, right? So come up to a conclusion about their company. Next, please. We're coming to the end of the session. I think we'll be in time. Closing. Have you seen people coming to your house to sell something, or somebody selling a toothpaste in the bus? Everybody, even a computer company, or even the advertisement on the television, they close. Maybe they may have a few seconds to close, but you have to close. It is most important part of the interview so that you don't bang out or in. Closing is very important. This gives a very sense of calmness to you and the interviewer. You can simply ask you, sir, thank you, and how did you like my interview? Don't be shy. Ask them, sir, did I fare well? Did you like it? They will simply say, okay, we'll tell you later on. Okay, sir, thank you very much. But do you think I'm worth? Will I be useful to you? They will like it. Don't be shy. Just don't get up and walk off. Right? So, and remember, gentlemen, I forgot to tell you one thing because I was stuck with the PPTs. Let us summarize the small effect. When you enter the interview arena, you are on the moment you are in. Everybody is watching you. The receptionist is watching you. The way you have come in, the people who are sitting already there with their files, the people every time the door opens, you may be sitting right in front. They may be watching you. So remember, the moment you are in, you are on. Second thing is, when you get inside, when you are called in, your name is Mr. Arvind, please come in. You have to slightly open the door, ask them, sir, please may I come in? Pull the chair, may I sit down, sir? Keep the bag on the floor, keep your file on the table. This is the way you enter an interview room. So before closing, I'm trying to summarize that whatever way you get inside, that is also very important. You have to display courage. You have to switch off your mobile. Wish everyone who's sitting there, take your seat only after being told to. Right? So these are certain etiquettes and attitudes you have to follow. And whenever you interview, Remember, you have to be in your formals, proper pressed shirt and trouser. Winters, you have to wear a coat and a tie. Polished shoes, leather shoes. Boys, girls, remember not to wear sports shoes for the interview, please. Do not wear sports shoes. They are a disgrace, please. They don't match with your formal attire, right? So whatever I wanted to tell you before the interview, I have given you. Now how you close it, that is, you get up, you say you're thankful that you were considered for the interview. I and hope they will like you, and thank you, thank everybody. If you want to thank everybody individually, and you can even shake hands if you're moving out, because if you stretch out your hand, nobody is going to say no. The person sitting right in front of you will definitely shake your hand, and that is an additional advantage. So I think, gentlemen, there are certain things which I have already told you, and we are within time, we'll be finding up. Now, I'll simply finish off this topic by simply telling you one more important thing which is normally missed by people who teach like me, who preach like me. How to select the right job. I think this is a very, very important thing in the employability, because you are going for a job which you don't like, or you're just out of desperation, you want to join a job which doesn't suit you. So how to select a job? I have a small list of points which you can understand. Right? This is, are you prepared to leave your hometown? Before selection of a job, please certify to yourself or ascertain, are you prepared to leave your hometown? What is your family background? Farming, industry, government employee, a businessman, a retailer. So you have to first see what basically made you up. Thank you, Neelam madam. Then, do you prefer a private industry or a government job? We are talking about employability. In Uttarakhand, 80% people say sarkari job. 80% want sarkari job, though we know there are no thing is a big trouble for people living in Uttarakhand, because they want sarkari job. But are you prepared for a private job? Then go for the interview. Otherwise, wait for the form. You know, people don't fill form here. They fill faram. Right, Anvesha Ghosh, thank you so much for the appreciation. So people should understand that they should go for filling their forms or their pharam, which they fill. This is not the right attitude for employability. You are hell stuck with something that your family wants. I will go for an army job only. What do you want to be in the army? I just want to wear a uniform. Man, this is not employability, man. So you should be prepared. First thing, whether you want a job or not. Are you a fresher? Are you single? Are you married? Married, having school-going children? You have to decide, and the employer will have to decide whether he can give you the job or not. Do you specialize in a particular field, or you are ready for multitasking? You have to think of that. No, I can teach only economics. I can go for economics. Why not other subjects? Why not geography, civics, and all not? So you have to decide. I can't tell you on that. Then do you want to work with a local company or an MNC? You want to work in Gurgaon, you want to work in Bangalore, you want to work in Delhi NCR, or you can go to Jaipur, you can go to Punjab. You have to decide. That's how you search for a job. You just simply can't go and get a job and then leave it spoiling somebody else's chances. Do you want to become a self-entrepreneur? You can even think of that. Then why job? See, if you want to be a self-entrepreneur, please go and work for 3 years in the same field. So this also helps you in selecting the right job, right? So this point is very important, which we don't consider. We go for employability, we go for this, we go for that, we don't decide how to select the right job. So gentlemen, I think today's topic is well finished well in time. And I hope this will help you out in your future, in your life. I've been teaching these things since last 10 years and people have benefited from this. I hope. Move around as much as you like. Travel a lot. Travel. Go to Hong Kong, China, Goa, Delhi, wherever you like. You will learn a lot. You will learn a lot. Traveling gives you the most insight. Thank you so much. Thank you for attending this session.